control of diabetes and also diabetic ketoacidosis if present. That is the most important one. And then reduce steroids reduce the dose of steroids and stop it as early as possible. That's the second thing. And also stop any other immunomodulating drugs. If you are giving any immunomodulating drugs, that has to be stopped. Next is surgical debridement. A thorough surgical debridement should be done to remove all the necrotic tissue, because the antifungal penetration into the necrotic tissue is suboptimal. So that has to be removed by thorough surgical debridement. And if there is orbital involvement, you consult with an ophthalmologist, and if needed, orbital exenteration has to be done. Okay, then comes the medical treatment. So for that, for the first day, adequate hydration has to be maintained, and IV line has to be maintained always. So insert either a peripherally inserted central catheter or a central venous catheter has to be inserted, and also adequate hydration, especially if you are giving amphotericin B. So preloading with normal saline is also needed. So maintain adequate hydration and start on antifungal. What are the antifungal? I will explain after this. And after that, a thorough monitoring for clinical, radiological and microbiological. What is that? Follow up with the radiological CT or MRI along with a repeat specimen for progression or worsening has to be monitored. Okay. And of the antifungal therapy, the amphotericin B is the first line of treatment. Can be either a conventional amphotericin B or a liposomal amphotericin B. And this liposomal amphotericin B, that is the L-AMP. This is the preferred one. Amphotericin B is highly nephrotoxic, so it has to be monitored thoroughly, and also preloading and after the infusion, the loading with the normal saline is also a must to reduce nephrotoxicity. Okay, so liposomal amphotericin B 5 mg per kilogram body weight, and you have to dilute it in 200 cc of 5% dextrose, and it is usually given infusion over 2 to 3 hours. Okay, in case you are suspecting a cerebral involvement or brain involvement, higher dose, that is 10 mg per kilogram body weight per day is given usually, and only if the cost of liposomal amphotericin B and cost and availability is an issue, then go towards a conventional amphotericin B, that is amphotericin B deoxycholate. Okay, amphotericin B deoxycholate, that is D-AMP. Only if the cost and availability is an issue, go for this. And this is usually given in 1 mg per kilogram body weight per day in 5% dextrose over a period of 6 to 8 hours, so that 0.08 mg per kilogram body weight per hour is ensured. That has to be monitored. This dosing, this is very important. It may be required to avoid infusion reaction, because allergic reaction to this D-AMP is very common. So constant monitoring and also pre-medication is needed. And if there is no fluid overload to the patient, pre-load with 1 liter of 5% dextrose, and also after infusion give 1 liter of 5% dextrose. That is preloading with the 1 liter normal saline, and also 1 liter normal saline to be given after infusion also. So that will reduce nephrotoxicity. That is the dosing of amphotericin B. And if the patient is allergic to amphotericin B, this posaconazole can also be given, and this posaconazole is available as injection, tablet and also in syrup form. Tablet 300 mg per day, twice daily for the first day, and thereafter 300 mg once a daily. That is the usual dose. And otherwise there is also isavuconazole, that the dose is 200 mg thrice daily for the first 2 days, and thereafter reduced to once a day. And what is the duration of this antifungal treatment? That is highly individualized treatment. Okay, this duration is different for different individuals. That is why I told you constant monitoring with clinical symptoms, radiology and microbiology is needed. If the patient is clinically improving and radiologically there is no evidence of sinus or cerebral or lung infection. And microbiology results are proven negative, then you can stop the treatment. Usually we give this amphotericin B for 3 to 6 weeks, followed by a consolidation treatment with either posaconazole or isavuconazole for 3 to 6 months. So amphotericin B, initial treatment for 3 to 6 weeks, followed by consolidation therapy with posaconazole for 3 to 6 months. That is the usual regime. And again, as I already told, it is individualized. Individualized treatment is needed according to clinical features, the patient, whether it is progressing or worsening or getting better, and also the review results of radiology and microbiology. And while giving amphotericin B, the renal function and potassium level should be monitored. And if you are finding that there is hypokalemia, low potassium levels, and it is not getting corrected with the intravenous potassium chloride, then look for presence of hypomagnesemia. Okay, if hypokalemia present, you are correcting it with the IV potassium chloride, it is not getting corrected, then there is high chance of hypomagnesemia, and that has to be ruled out. So this is treatment that's of CAM with the antifungals. CAM is a disease having high mortality and morbidity. Every attempt should be directed for prevention of CAM. So how we can prevent COVID-associated mucormycosis? Number one and most important one is, as the poorly controlled diabetes mellitus is a major issue, a very good glycemic control during management of COVID-19 patient is required. That is number one, a very good glycemic control. Second, the systemic and oral steroids should be given only in indicated cases. That is number two. The spore of mucormycosis are seen in very high quantities in areas of construction, then excavation, then contaminated bandages, contaminated dressings, tongue depressors, etc. And so the patient of COVID-19 or susceptible patients should be advised not to go to these areas, like areas of construction or excavations. And this traumatic cutaneous implanted mucormycosis was more commonly reported at the time of Asiatic tsunami. So that means that this contaminated water contains the spore in very high quantities. So they will be asked to or advised not to go to areas of having construction or excavation, etc. Then wearing of mask will protect from the spore of mucor, so that should be strictly adhered to. The thing is strict aseptic precautions while administering oxygen, like what? Like using sterile water in humidifier, daily change of oxygen tubings, etc. should be followed. Aeromycological study to identify the presence and to quantify the fungal spore should be done periodically in ICUs where COVID-19 patients are getting treatment. And at the time of discharge, every patient should be informed about the early signs of COVID-associated mucormycosis. So on seeing the initial symptoms itself, the patient can report to a consultant doctor. So that is also a preventive method. So all these should be strictly adhered to. Especially the foremost important is the good high glycemic control while treating COVID-19 patients. And remember, this mucormycosis is not contagious. It will not spread from person to person, and also it will not spread through oxygenators, water and humidifier. This is present, this this fungus is present in indoor and outdoor, and the mode of spread is through air. That has to be remembered. This is not contagious also. And among the COVID-associated mucormycosis, ROCM is the most common clinical entity seen. Global guidelines and management protocol has been published by Lancet, and also WHO has published the treatment guidelines. In accordance with that, this is a flow chart for the clinical management of approach for ROCM. And according to that, we have divided that into a possible ROCM, a probable ROCM and proven ROCM. What are they? So, in possible ROCM, there is typical signs and symptoms in susceptible patient. Who are the susceptible patient? That is either concurrent or sequential. I have already described what are they. And these susceptible patients are COVID-19 patients or recovered patients who are diabetic or on organ transplant or stem cell transplant or on immunosuppressive other immunosuppressive conditions, or taken mechanical ventilation or have supported with the oxygen therapy. Okay, so they are the susceptible host, both concurrent and sequential. So if there is a typical signs and symptoms, there are three possibilities. For all these patients, we will definitely be able to do a nasal endoscopy and also imagiology. So the possibility, one, nasal endoscopy and CECT bar MRI, there is no supportive evidence. That patients, they have to be kept under close observation with the supportive medication, and repeated nasal endoscopy after 24 hours and CT MRI after 72 hours. Okay. And that is a possible ROCM. And after this 72 hours, there are again two possibilities. Either there is clinical improvement or there is clinical worsening. Okay. If there is clinical improvement, this ROCM is unlikely. Okay. So ROCM is unlikely in them, but they have to be observed for at least 3 weeks. Okay. So that is a possible ROCM. Right? What is probable ROCM? Probable ROCM is there is typical signs and symptoms, and radiologically there are CT MRI showing a definitive changes, but microbiology, that is the fungal stain and fungal culture, is not giving a supportive evidence. That is negative. They are probable, but and also in a possible ROCM after 72 hours, if the clinical features or clinical worsening of clinical symptoms, they are treated as a probable ROCM, right? And that they should be started on antifungals and also prepare and plan surgery, that is debridement. Okay. And what is proven ROCM? That is clinically symptoms are there, then radiological evidence is there, and microbiology, the fungal stain, culture and special stains, and molecular microbiology all are positive. Then it is a proven ROCM. Okay. Again, they should be started with antifungals and plan for a debridement, right? Again, this probable or proven, again there is staging 1, 2, 3 and AB. What is that? This staging is there is no orbital involvement, or it can be an orbital involvement. Stage 3 CND is with the extensive orbital involvement. Okay. So if there is no orbital involvement, this is no orbital involvement, right? So in that cases, go for debridement and also sinus irrigation with the amphotericin B. That is important. And if the patient with no orbital involvement, they are worsening after 72 hours, going for an extensive orbital involvement, then go for acceleration of the orbit along with the retroorbital irrigation with the amphotericin B. That is important. Okay. And in proven cases, either there are stage 3 CND. Stage 3 CND is with extensive orbital involvement. Again, they have to go for an orbital acceleration followed by debridement and irrigation with the amphotericin B. Then what about stage 4A and B? Stage 4A and B is with minimum CNS, minimum or no CNS involvement. That is only orbital involvement. Again, this is with they have to go with an orbital acceleration, sinus irrigation and extensive debridement till you get a negative margins. Okay. And 4CND is that patients with an extensive orbital as well as central nervous system involvement. They can be given a trial of debridement with antifungals, and if there is and if the condition of the patient is not good enough for antifungals, then again supportive treatment with the minimum debridement has to be done in stage 4 CND, and that's the worst scenario also. And then what is this 4 week 6 week regime? That is for all them. At least 4 weeks of amphotericin B followed by posaconazole at least 6 weeks. That is 4 weeks, 6 weeks. I already told it's a treatment duration is highly individualized, but amphotericin B should be given for a minimum of 4 weeks and posaconazole should be given minimum of 6 weeks. Okay. So this is management approach for ROCM.